Hey everyone, this is Clark Vinoya and welcome to another 3 Tips Wednesday. Today's episode, what we're going to talk about is the advantages of shooting in RAW versus JPEG. So since this is a 3 Tips episode, again, we're going to talk about the 3 advantages in shooting in RAW. But first, before we proceed, I'm going to give you a basic analogy, the difference in shooting in RAW versus JPEG. In shooting RAW, it's like baking a cake. Like, all the raw ingredients are right there in front of you. Kaya nga siya raw. So the advantage in RAW is like, you can mix all of the ingredients. You can measure the sweetness, the taste, the flavor, and everything. Then you will undergo the process of baking. Then, there you have it. You will have your personalized cake. So that's for shooting in RAW. But in shooting in JPEG, it's like a store-bought cake. Ito yung fixed na yung flavor, fixed na yung sweetness. There's nothing that you can do. Pwede, siguro, probably a minimal changes. But that's the cake. Yan yung cake eh. Unlike in baking your own cake from the raw ingredients, you can mix it up, all the ingredients, based on your own preference. So, there you have it. That's the basic analogy in shooting RAW and shooting in JPEG. The cake that's made from raw ingredients and the store-bought cake, the JPEG file. Okay, let's proceed. First, shooting. So the advantage in shooting in RAW is you can gather all the data, all the details in your photos. That's why mapapansin nyo, ang laki ng file size ng mga RAW files natin. Unlike in JPEG, what you see, what you get. That's the file, that's the photo. Yun na yun. Second, editing. So ang advantage naman in shooting in RAW, in editing, is since in RAW file, nandito lahat ng data, nandito lahat ng details, napaka-dynamic ng RAW file. So, meaning, if you have heavy shadows or highlights in your photo, pwede mo pa ito ma-adjust at ma-recover ang every details nito. Well, syempre, may limitation pa rin. But, halos ma-recover mo ang mga details nito. If you have heavy shadows, makukuha mo pa yung details nito. If you have highlights, ma-recover mo pa yung mga details dito. So, it's like baking in a cake. You can mix it up, all the flavor and the sweetness based on your own preference. But, in editing a JPEG file, pag lumagpas ka na sa limit ng mga details ng photo na yan, ito yung tinatawag kong napupunit na yung file. Ito yung mapapansin mo na parang lumalabas na yung pixels or nag-iiba or nasisira na yung color ng file. Well, that's the limitation in JPEG. It's like a store-bought cake. Fixed na siya. And third, printing. Of course, you can still print both JPEG and RAW files. But the advantage in printing in RAW, especially if you want to print in a bigger scale like billboard or kasi laki ng building, the RAW file has all the advantage. Sabi nga natin kanina, the file size is dynamic. All the details are there, the data are there, andun rin lahat. So if ipiprint mo ito ng malaki, kayang-kayang ibigay ito ng RAW file. Don't get me wrong, JPEG photos are still good. Especially sa mga latest camera models ngayon, ang gaganda ng mga JPEG file nito. And also, when you're working with different media agencies, dito mo rin magagamit ang mga JPEG photos. So like me, whenever I work with different media agencies, after shoot, I have to submit all the photographs doon sa mga client ko. So kailangan ito JPEG file kasi they cannot open the RAW file unless they have the software to process all the RAW files. Siyempre, hassle sa kanila yan. That's why they need and we need to give JPEG photos. Also, good thing in JPEGs din naman, if you want to test your photography skills, so ito yung mga tinatawag namin SOOC or straight out of the camera. Ito yung mga tipong you have to adjust all the exposure lang sa camera mo, then voila! Ayun yung photograph, ayun yung JPEG mo. And sasabit mo na yan kung saan mo siya pwede gamitin. Also, if you're a photojournalist, ito rin yung advantage in shooting JPEG or straight off the camera. Kasi mas natural yung photographs pag tinignan mo yung story na gusto mong i-deliver. So ako, ang preference ko, if I'm going to shoot just for social media and I will just do small editing, or if I will work with different media agencies, that's where I will use JPEG. But, if I want to be creative, especially in my post-processing, that's where I will shift to RAW file. So, that's my preference. I don't know about you. Let me know about your preference by putting it down in the comment below. Let's have a conversation. Are you a JPEG guy? Are you a RAW file? Then, why? Bakit mas prefer mo JPEG or bakit mas prefer mo ang RAW file? So, that's our 3 tips for today. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up and share this video. And if you're watching via Facebook, I'm inviting you to check out my YouTube channel. That's Clark Vinoya, and check out my other videos. And don't forget to smash the subscribe button and ring that bell to get notified on my next videos. Thank you for watching. This is Clark Vinoya for your 3 Tips Wednesday.